Okay, guys, welcome back to another video. This is some PS4 footage between myself and various opponents. Took a break from PS4 for a while, and here I'm going up against Timeless Dawn, guy who featured on FGC Africa, and I think Charlie Wolf Gaming streams as well, with the Realm Destroyer Shao Kahn going up against my board against Cetrion. As you can see, guys, this video is titled Bring My Girls Out to Play on PS4 Combat League. So yeah, I hope you sit back, relax and enjoy the video. So I think some of you who might know my preferred characters will know that I just recently picked up board against Cetrion. Reached out to the Cetrion extraordinaire of the SAFGC being Pandabe. Just asked him for a little bit of tips and hints, and yeah, so going down in that first round, obviously Shao Kahn's got superior range, but Cetrion obviously got access to, you know, the keep away game, and I think in this particular variation she's actually got some decent pressure as well. So I'm enjoying some time here in the corner, keeping Shao Kahn in the corner here, but he escapes that forward 3-4, forces me to break away from that particular combo. So both of us on life alert right now, and as you can see, we are just backing away, trying to find an opening. And just before I landed, realized that that forward 3-4 might just connect. Ended up to go for the Howl's Wrath in the air, draw it at 1 round apiece. Okay, that cancelled out my rock unfortunately, but at this point, still fairly much in a decent enough life lead. And he just keeps falling for that. Without the conflux of elements, pushes him away, but not phasing him too much though. That no connects, amplified it, so kept it plus. And now I think I might finish this particular game off. So took that game against, in fact this is probably the first time I actually faced this particular variation of Shao Kahn, so not too bad. Go on to the next game.
Round 1. Fight!
Okay, so we're getting into game number 2 here between myself and Timeless Dawn. He's stuck with the Shao Kahn variation, Realm Destroyer. And what I normally like about these videos, especially when I'm commentating, I actually seem to spot more often than not certain mistakes that I make, and trying to keep my play as clean as possible. Managed to connect with his second hit and hit confirm. I don't know why it is, but everybody who seems to play this variation of Shao Kahn, or not a variation, but who seems to play Shao Kahn, relies a lot on the forward 3-4, and there is a flawless block gap there, but you know, my success rate on that is probably like 40%, if at all. But again, just trying to spot or identify certain errors that I might be making. Not sure if that was intentional, I don't think so. And again, my flawless blocks are starting to come up now, and I'm not sure why I went for that particular cancel, but didn't pay too much of a price for that. Now, what I was going to say earlier is often people fighting against Cetrion often fall for the jump kicks into the cancelled air Howl's Wrath, and success rate on that seems to be quite high. Hammer smash. Up for the grab this time. and managed to connect that, and that ends off that particular game. So, must be honest with you, quite happy with my Cetrion play in that particular match. And I think at this point, Timeless Dawn decided to change characters. So let's see what happens in the following match.
Round 1. Fight!
Okay, so he's gone for the character swap, and he's gone for the Cloudwalker fusion. Now in this match, at first I wasn't entirely sure exactly what to expect from this particular character choice here, and what I was noticing is that he went into a lot of, I believe it's jump 2, into the standing 4-2. And I didn't see too many cloud walks from this particular fusion play here in Timeless Dawn. So normally fusion's all over the screen, but for some other reason Timeless Dawn seemed to play a very conservative, if you like, playstyle, and unfortunately paid the price there. So not too far in terms of getting me off my life bar, but going into the second round, having taken that first round without not necessarily doing too much, was feeling fairly confident. That cancel clearly didn't work there, not comboing, and yeah, paid the price for that particular one. But again, you know, 20 seconds into the round, haven't lost too much life, haven't taken too much life either. And there again, jumping into the 4-2 and get a full 275 combo. And I think it was at this point where I basically surrendered this round and thought, okay, you know what? Clearly that strategy did not work. I had to try and adjust here, and I think that's exactly what I did here.
Final round. Fight.
Okay, so I've got the conflux of elements out, and he's standing in now, taking some chip damage. So again, already established a 60% life lead going into this, I think was the final match between myself and Timeless Dawn. And I think that was it. So bringing Cetrion out to play on the PS4, having spent most of my time on PC experimenting with her, I felt fairly confident after that particular set. So let's move on to the next match and see what happens.
Wait, you're Shinnok's sister?
Even elder gods have kin.
There is like
Okay, so
no
this match
family
I'm going up
resemblance.
against Ozai 187. The suffix of my previous PSN ID. So in this particular match, what I really noticed in Ozai's play was that he was definitely adjusting to a lot of what I was trying to achieve with Cetrion. Success, or landed quite a decent amount of frame traps, I think. And I think also at this point, there was 1 or 2 occasions where Ozai jumped in, and I don't think he was at the right range to jump in. Obviously with Cetrion having such a strong keep away gun. But what he was able to do is spot that he was landing a little bit of success with the jumping one, and I think that's what he adjusted. Not necessarily in this round, but going into the second game of this set. But I really enjoyed this particular match because what Ozai was doing, he was obviously taking note of exactly what I was trying to achieve with Cetrion. And I think he was eventually, after the first game, able to make a fairly significant adjustment, which I think caught me off guard. Landed what I thought at that point was a desperate fatal blow, but landed nonetheless. And I think with me establishing such a very quick life lead in this round, got a bit excited, let my guard down, and as a result he was able to land that fatal blow. And again, you see he's starting to land a little bit of success with the jump, and again, jumped over, crossed me up, beat my wake up, and was able to clutch that particular round out. So being a little bit peeved off at myself now, having gone down in that particular round after taking a fairly comfortable life lead, started to panic a little bit. And as you can see, I've become rather impatient now, and I had to claw my way back into this particular round. That doesn't seem to work against this guy, but managed to bait out that forward 2, 1+2, and okay, so at that point I realized the fatal blows used. I'm going in for the attack and managed to clutch out that round. So sweaty game there against the Zai 187, but managed to get my name on the score sheet in game number 1. And this is where he made the adjustment.
Round 1. Fight!
Match number 2 between myself and Ozai 187. No character swaps, no variation swaps, but definitely a strategy swap here, because as I mentioned in that first game, Ozai was finding a fair amount of success really with the jumping in. And I think at this point I realized my anti-airs weren't on point. Go for something completely unsafe there and pay the ultimate price. 261. Bread and butter combo there by Cassie. Just missed the timing there on that forward 2. And again, caught me with that delayed air fatal blow and connect. So now I'm in panic mode. I think I managed to actually close it out here. Trading obviously, but I think my boulder disconnected.
Round 2.
So feeling a bit relieved that I won that first round, and I think it's during this stage where Ozai really makes a serious adjustment. Searching for a crushing blow there, didn't materialize though, but I've established my zoning again. NRS, please help us with that. Unintentional breakaway there. And obviously putting me at quite a disadvantage now, because I have no access to my conflux of elements. And this is where the jumping in starts. And unfortunately at this point I had absolutely no answer for Ozai whatsoever. Not sure how that connected, but it did.
Oh, yeah, video.
I think at this point I fail at the flawless block attempt completely. And again, we're seeing quite a bit of jump-ins now, and unfortunately unable to get my anti-airs on point. Go for the air-to-air instead, and again. At this point, I'm extremely annoyed in this particular match. He's catching me with stray bullets, he's catching me with air projectiles, he's catching me with jump-ins. And I'm trying almost desperately to find an answer, but again, finishes it off with a jump-in one, and I was fairly pissed off that particular match. But then a big up to Ozai there for actually adjusting, and let's see.
Round 1. Fight.
Okay, third and final match between myself and Ozai 187. One game apiece in this Combat League set. Okay, so trying to keep my distance here, getting out of range really for his jump-ins from the previous game. So again, slightly changed the range of attack, and able to find an answer for that jump in there. Actually landed a successful anti-air, but unable to convert, unfortunately. But again, just staying out of that jumping in range now, so adjusted my strategy a little bit. Again, looking for the crushing blow, which again was fairly unsuccessful. Good use of the interactable there, managed to get the block. And I think it's at this point where I was able to definitely close that particular round out. So a couple of escapes there with last minute blocking of the fatal blow, which I believe in the upcoming patch is probably going to be flawless blocked. With that flawless block window now being moved to 6 frames, which I'm not sure is the best thing to do, but let's wait and see how it plays out. I think there's so much speculation right now. But then after that first round win, I felt like I was really adjusting well, especially to Azai's answer to me in game number 2, but still falling victim to a couple of stray gunshots. Okay, caught out there with the forward 4. Managed to land that particular fatal blow, expecting the gunshot came, and the fatal blow connects. So at this stage I'm thinking, you know what, I just need to close out this particular match now. And that's exactly what I did. So great games to Ozai 1-7. Very close, very sweaty Combat League set, and fortunately for myself, coming up 2-1 victor. Okay, another Combat League set here, guys. Played on Saturday morning, Saturday the 7th.
This one will enjoy your
and decided to go with my other beauty in Devora. Going up against Magic Touch HD with the outtake Johnny Cage variation. Arguably his strongest variation, but many people will disagree and say that they actually think Showstopper is the better one. Either way, I think Johnny Cage is still a fairly strong character, especially considering they've given him some serious nerfs. And speaking of strong, you know, at this point I'm thinking, gosh, Magic Touch is really in the lead. But establishing some corner pressure with my beauty Devora. And finish you off with the back 4. So again, clutch round, 13.2 life points remaining. Thank you very much. But unlike my preferred variation being that of the Arachnophobia, I've actually opted to go with the Buzz variation this time. And I think it might also be the first time that they've actually faced Magic Touch. As some of you guys might know, I don't frequent the PS4 too often, but whenever I do, I tend to have quite a bit of fun there. So, trying to close out on game number 1 between myself and Magic Touch HD. Okay, probably not the most appropriate punish in that situation there. Managed to get the back 3-4. Misses the down 2, unfortunately for him. But manages to get the grab out of my cancel into the bug drop. And it's 1 round apiece. You know, obviously being more of an Arachnophobia player, one thing I often find, even though Devora does have some serious range, this particular variation does seem to struggle against some of your zoners, especially your stronger zoners. But once she's in, it's set up city. no luck there on the bug drop amplified. Magic Touch HD obviously applying a bit of patience here and making it really hard for me to just find my way in. Here we talk about range. Johnny Cage has a fair amount of range on that back 3-4 as well. But probably making a couple of more mistakes than what I would have liked now. Had that been arachnophobia, gosh, that would have been some serious damage of that forward throw. And this is to block the forward one. Scouted the grab attempt there after the fatal blow cancel. Okay, unfortunately missed inputs there. And I think at this stage a very anticlimactic end to the round, sorry. Trading on projectiles. Managed to probably get a bit lucky there that he decided to go for the force ball, but be that as it may, managed to take that first round. Going into game number 2 now.
Round 1. Fight!
Okay, match number 2. Charlie Wolf ZA versus Magic Touch HD. Stuck to his Johnny Cage variation. I've obviously been character locked, being a Combat League set. Okay, a couple of missed inputs coming through there. Now guys, those of you who play on the PS4 and the PC, whenever I go from PS4 to PC, or from PC to PS4 rather, there always seems to be a little bit of adjustment in terms of getting used to the two different controllers that I decide to use. On the PC, I go for the Xbox One control, which I think is a great control. Bulky but great. And then obviously on PS4, the normal DualShock 4. I prefer the Xbox controller, and I always find it needs to be a little bit of an adjustment when jumping over onto the PS4. Also, I don't play on the same monitor, so sometimes there's a bit of input lag. Monitor obviously very responsive. Television, maybe not so much, but you know, after a few sets, I seem to find my way around the PS4 as well. And having gone up in that first round against Magic HD, at this point I was expecting to actually go and take this particular set 2-0 and, you know, on to the next one. But for some other reason, I just let my game down completely. Wake up there with a 1-2-1 into the Rising Star. Tried to amplify OV positives. 1-2-1 with just +1 on block. And again, you know, in a winning position here, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what, this is probably going to be, but just out of range. Probably going to be a victory, but again, there, that back 3-4 of the border, I was out of range. And Magic Touch HD just moves in, goes for the backward grab, and go down in that particular round.
You drop this?
Nice middle finger there from Johnny Cage, just to remind me that he's in fact Johnny Cage. And again, he's obviously found a space that he's comfortable with fighting against this particular variation of the border. Not watching my feet there this time. Okay, expected the breakaway there, so thought I'd cash in on some damage. He opts not to go for the breakaway, so he's still got a full bar of defensive meter here. Down one into the ovipositor. Scouts the grab this time. Down to crushing blow. No conversion though. But eventually gets an opening with the back 3-2. Again, down one ovipositor. 1-2-1. Didn't make any use of their plus frames there. Tried to back away, but the down 4 has sufficient range and hits me in the punani for good measure. One game apiece between myself and Magic HD, and I think at this point I decided, you know what, I was struggling with the buzz variation and I moved towards my preferred.
Round 1. Fight.
Okay, so I've swapped to the arachnophobia variation this time against Magic Touch's outtake Johnny Cage. And again, I think at this point I might have just forgotten that I've actually gone for the arachnophobia variation, but did the typical honeybee out of nowhere RKO style teleport. So in this particular variation, if I do manage to get some distance on Johnny Cage, you know, I've obviously got the luxury, I guess, of being able to teleport as a react to any projectile. And I'm fairly comfortable just keeping my distance, waiting patiently for him to make the move. I've got absolutely no reason to move in. Got a life lead. At this point I'm thinking if I can get a couple of bugs on him, that would be great, but instead I fall victim to forward 3-4, back 3-4, sorry. And I move in for the back grab. Throws Johnny Cage into the corner, and now I'm on match point, guys. He's got no bugs around him.
Fight!
Use the interactable there, try to get some sort of inroads. Again, trading projectiles, but I am getting a couple of bugs, so at least one at this point. Whack. One for the YOLO teleport. Johnny Cage is down for putting in some work down, but again, fairly decent life lead until I go for that YOLO teleport, which I think at that point was probably the most unnecessary thing to do. Yet again, down one ovipositor, and again, down 3 into a teleport, and I think I'm trying things out of desperation here. And
Finish him.
that was it. So definitely feeling much more comfortable with the Devourer arachnophobia variation, and I was able to close out that game. But guys, from my point of view, those were enjoyable sets against 3 tough opponents, and yeah, that was me bringing out my girls to play. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys all on the next one. Peace out.